Hello and welcome to another episode of Oh So Curious Times DCU Daily. We are back with so much more from the world of Hollywood. Of course, we've got some news with Tom Cruise setting the starting date for his new movie at Warner Brothers. That's right, Tom Cruise is back with WB after a long time, and his first movie back with the studio is going to start filming in the UK next year, so we're going to talk about that. Tom Holland is making waves with multiple projects. Of course, not only is he going to be starring in Spider-Man 4, but he's also now in the new Christopher Nolan movie, so we have to get into that as well. And we also have, of course, DCU Daily, James Gunn, giving us the usual answering fan questions online. What is he talking about now? What is he addressing? Green Lantern stuff, maybe? We'll get into that. And we just got some quotes from John Turturro about why he did not come back as Carmine Falcone in The Penguin, so we're going to dive into that as well. Of course, there's also the stuff from Amy Adams talking about Henry Cavill being a really brilliant Superman, and that she wishes Rachel Brosnahan all the best of luck playing the new Lois Lane in the Superman movie coming out next year. And beyond that, we're gonna look ahead to, Venom. So, we'll get started. Hello.
Hi.
John's been providing us some great ASMR for that intro. That
was amazing. Right. I was like, John,
I was muted.
No, you weren't. We were like, shh. You just hear like all muted. Of the stuff shifting around.
Yeah, I was muted the whole time, so I don't know like what the hell was up with that, but anyway, whatever.
Well, Angelina, it's been a while. How have you been?
Hey guys. Well, I was here last week, but I know you guys do DCU. Yeah, I can speak. Can I do the DCU daily thing with the Venom thing? DCU? Kidding. Sorry. John hated that. He was like, "Oh God."
No, I'm just scratching my face. I think I have like a pimple or something, so I'm just trying to scratch that off.
Yeah, I think it's this time of year or something. I'm not doing.
No, I always have pimples. I have the worst skin, so I always get pimples.
Me too. I just put makeup on, so don't worry. It's okay. We're even.
Well, I don't have that option, so.
You can put makeup on.
No.
No.
I'll look like a turd in a dress. What are you talking about?
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Dan,
how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. It's been a busy day already. I know we were on a lot earlier than we usually are with DCU Daily. That's more of a midnight hour show. But Also Curious is we do our stuff during the daylight hours. At least most of the time. So with that said, John, how are you doing today? This is a lot.
Well, apparently, like somehow my mic works even though it's fucking muted. So how the fuck that works, I have no idea. So, whatever. I mean, it could be worse. I remember I think it was a couple days ago that happened again. But it's like, I don't know. Fuck that. I like this new microphone, but also fuck this new microphone. It's been causing problems. So fuck it. It's stupid.
How could
anyway?
How could
I was gonna say in the pre-show while I was loading things up. John was eating, and I was just getting the best food ASMR, just like running in the background. So it was just.
All of the ASMR today. We love.
Okay, well, you know what? We have a lot to get into today, so let's get started with the news, and then we're just gonna roll the snowball down the hill after.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number two.
Mr. I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see Corbin.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the
Give me a hand up.
Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
Well,
we
have
really
a lot of
need to get
Marvel
rid of
stuff.
that Joker fully ado clip.
Well,
did
that
not age
bomb,
well.
that just didn't age well, did it?
didn't
My
age well.
goodness.
We'll get into that. We'll work on it. But what did age well is, of course, so far at least, the RDJ announcement. I was actually recently looking at Tom Holland talking about how RDJ showed up on the set for Civil War, where Tom Holland first comes into the MCU, and his scene had been cut down significantly because they were like, this is already a 2.5 hour long movie, so we're gonna need to cut this Peter Parker intro short. And Robert Downey Jr. was like, no, you're gonna want to film the whole thing, and then you can cut it in post. So they did it, and then in the end they basically kept the whole scene. So like Tom Holland was like, I'd love to do that for somebody else down the road, like what Robert Downey Jr. did for me. So it's nice to see that the two guys really like each other. And we have a lot of Tom Holland news on the show today, but John, you brought this to me. This is the first news item of the day. It's to do with the Carrie TV series, which part of the, of course, a larger Carrie franchise. I am not a big horror fan myself, John, so I'm gonna let you take over and kind of talk about what's going on with Mike Flanagan at Amazon and MGM Television here.
So I don't know when this happened, but for years Mike Flanagan had a deal with Netflix. He produced so many of his miniseries like Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, Fall of the House of Usher. He did a bunch of those, and I think he also he might have done a movie on there too. But he had a deal with Netflix for a while. That recently ended. Now he's at Amazon, and he's been producing a lot of stuff for Amazon now. The two now confirmed series. The first one was Stephen King's The Dark Tower, which I am super stoked for, because after that god awful movie, we need to wash our mouths out from that and give us actually a good adaptation of the Gunslinger franchise, because it's such a franchise ripe for like the making. It combines so many great elements, and I feel like Mike Flanagan would make us proud with that. And now we are going to be getting a mini series that is an adaptation of Stephen King's first novel, Carrie, which is about the telekinetic girl who gets relentlessly bullied, who manages to get revenge on her bullies. And old school classic story. The most famous adaptation was the Brian De Palma version from 1976, I believe. The first adaptation.
Movie, right?
What is it?
It was the first movie. I think they've made two since, and it's literally like they don't even add anything new to it. They just give you new.
So the original was like mainly a horror movie. It didn't really adapt the book all that well. It was just like, oh, it's a horror movie. We're making it a horror movie.
What is the difference? What is the difference between the book and the movie adaptations? Because I actually don't know that. I didn't even know Stephen King wrote this book, which is crazy. It's crazy. Like, I had no idea.
So Carrie, it was his first book ever. Like he initially had no faith in it. He threw the manuscript out, and then his wife dug it out of the trash and read it and was like, no, hey, this is actually really good. Publish it. And it became his first book. Yeah. So, and then it subsequently became the first adaptation, like a couple of years later when Brian De Palma did it. And that's, what the picture is from. But yeah, the book does have horror elements, but it's mainly a social commentary on bullying.
Yeah.
And how you take the bullied going like too far. The movie doesn't really focus on that. It's mainly focusing on like the horror of the situation and her like powers, which isn't bad. I thought it was pretty good. But then they made a TV movie. Yeah. They made a TV movie in 2002 that was supposed to be the start of a TV series with Carrie, like saving people with her powers. I don't even know who was in that. It apparently was really bad.
MTV or something?
Maybe, probably.
I feel like I remember this so vaguely, like back when MTV was really trying to get into like, it was right after 16 and Pregnant had come out, and it was like they were really trying to get into these like weird TV movies that were like for people of like the teenage to like early adult stages. that phased out real quick. Crazy.
It was released on NBC, so not MTV,
No.
but yeah. So it was supposed to be. It was essentially a pilot that was supposed to start a TV series because it had Carrie living at the end because it was supposed to like start like a whole thing. She was supposed to have like telekinetic adventures, and then it was like, no, this is actually really terrible. So they passed on it. And then we had the 2013 movie, which I think is superior to the original because it more so follows the book and it's more so about like the commentary of what the book is. And I think Chloe Grace Moretz did a much better job, and a lot of the actors did a much better job. Unfortunately, got a lot of studio meddling because they're like, we want this more to be like the original rather than the book. So that was unfortunate. But I do hope with this one we get like an even balance between like the book and like the adaptation. So like you get the core of the book, but you can also add a little bit of horror in there. I don't know how they're going to stretch this out to 8 episodes because it's a pretty short book. I think it's like maybe like 400, 500 pages, but you know, I trust Mike Flanagan. The man has yet to miss. So I'm like, I'm stoked for it. I think it'll do. I think it'll be great. So it's going to be on Amazon. It's going to be 8 episodes long. We don't know when it's coming out because Mike Flanagan has had a very full schedule. So we'll see, but I'm definitely very excited for it.
I mean, Mike Flanagan also might be busy with some DC stuff. Like he's certainly involved on some
allegedly.
Allegedly, he keeps hanging out with all the right people. So, but you know what? Allegedly, Severance season 1. Actually, it's not allegedly. Severance season 1 was amazing. Everybody loved it. I was on that train because I actually kind of binged the first season. I started watching it a few weeks in, and then I had to wait every week to have a new episode come out because I hadn't waited just long enough to get the whole season all in one go. But since it ended, look, the conversation around Severance was just, where is this going next? Oh my God, like there were so many big reveals in the season finale. And now it's been like almost 2 years, like since the first season came out. Like it was a big pandemic hit, and now we're like well past that. And here we are, finally. Adam Scott is back in the season 2 trailer. John and Angelina, you guys haven't seen the first season, but you did watch the trailer. I really enjoyed the trailer. I love the music that they're going with. It's to me, as somebody who has seen the first season, this was like the perfect appetizer for what's to come next, right? And I'm getting some of the references for what happened in season 1 and how maybe some of these pieces will tie together. But for you guys, as your first taste of this show, what did you think? I'll start with you, Angelina. What were your thoughts on the trailer for Severance season 2?
Honestly, I didn't even know about. I didn't know about the show. I don't know how I didn't know about the show. I didn't know about the show. Honestly, up until recently, I didn't even have Apple TV Plus, but everybody keeps talking about it. So I watched the trailer for this show and I immediately was like, huh. So I might be going back and binging that.
It's just, and then it's just like, boom.
No,
I agree.
Good, yeah.
I had this on my radar for a while. Like I was like, I saw the first season trailer when it initially came out. So I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. And then everyone was like, oh my God, this show is actually really fucking good. I'm like, okay, I'll eventually watch it when I have time. And then I just never did. But now with the reminder of getting a season 2, we're like, all right, let me try and find some time in the near future and give it a watch. I like Adam Scott. I like the cast. So I think, I think this will definitely be really, really interesting. Like I heard it's like a great, like very well made, like grounded sci-fi show. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna give this a watch. Hopefully,
it's got that like creep factor. Like you watch the show, and this is how I'll describe it. Right, you watch this show, and you feel sometimes almost as trapped just watching the show as the characters are within the situation that they're in. So
that has to be like that's a really strong storytelling, because I think that's the biggest issue. I feel like with a lot of TV recently is that they fail to fully create this story in a way that makes me actually give a shit. Right. And that's just like undercooked storytelling. That's been a huge problem with like the Marvel, a lot of the DCEU. Like that's been a lot of now as like people are just like trying to roll shit out. Like that was the biggest issue. So that's always exciting. But I feel like Apple TV Plus always gets that right in their shows. Yeah. They never seem to get that right in their movies. which is weird. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, their movie record recently has not been very good, but when it comes to this TV show,
I was like, oh.
No, it's all good. I was just gonna say their TV shows are some of the best TV shows on right now anywhere. Whether
I've
you're
heard
watching it
nothing
on
but amazing
streaming,
things.
on broadcast television, it's as their television product is as good, if not better, than Netflix and HBO.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
like their
easily.
show, and we're gonna talk about John Turturro. I think he was being interviewed for the promoting this new season of Severance. He kind of went in and got asked about the Batman and his role as Carmine Falcone, why didn't come back in the Penguin, but John Turturro is one of those like several cast members in this show who was just incredibly compelling. And for a show that on the surface seems very one-dimensional, the longer you watch, the more it just pulls you in. It's amazing. I can't speak highly enough of it.
Oh.
Caleb's in the chat, and Caleb's saying, because Apple TV doesn't market its shows outside of occasional trailer dropped on YouTube, they don't run TV's spots or ads online. That's true. That is true. But Apple also has a big audience with just everybody who owns an Apple product has pretty much Apple TV for free, right? For at least a few months. So they expect that to be like the built-in marketing. It's kind of like Netflix. They don't market their stuff as much either because they're like, we are an ecosystem all by ourselves. Like if you're on Netflix, you're gonna get that marketed to you anyway.
Yeah,
so,
same thing with I think how I have HBO Max or just Max or whatever is if you have like a cable package with HBO Max is included. So that's also kind of like which might not be great marketing because nobody has cable anymore, but that's like it follows that similar like built-in sort of thing with that. So.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, but look, I'm excited for this show. I cannot wait for season 2. I'm currently on season 4 of Slow Horses. I still have to catch up on my Ted Lasso. There's so much good TV on Apple TV Plus, and of course, Caleb was mentioning like Wolves was a movie that they were just shoving down our throat with so many ads. But ultimately, I think by not releasing it in theaters, a Brad Pitt, George Clooney movie no less, I think that was a mistake on their part. But you know what? Christopher Nolan's not in the business of making mistakes. And
True.
Christopher Nolan is in the process of making his next movie. And now we know that our current Spider-Man, Tom Holland, has joined the cast. He's going to be part of Christopher Nolan's next movie. It's set to release in 2026. It's set to start filming next year in 2025. What do you guys think about this? I mean, there's been rumors out there as to like what the movie's plot is going to be, but I wonder how Tom Holland fits into this. Do you think he's going to be playing like a supporting role? Because of course, Matt Damon is also in this movie, who was most recently in Oppenheimer, so his second movie in a row with Christopher Nolan. So who do you think is playing the lead? Do you think that will be Tom Holland? Of course, we've seen other young actors like Harry Styles was in Dunkirk. We have seen other examples where Nolan he knows how to spot talent, right? Like Tom Holland hasn't really done very well outside of the Spider-Man franchise in terms of big hits, but he acts the hell out of whatever he's given. So Nolan's like, you know what? I get it. Let me bring you into this movie, and maybe this will be your opportunity. It's also another one of those like Marvel actors coming over potentially for an Oscar-worthy turn, like RDJ recently did. So I wanted to get your reaction on this, John. I'll start with you on this. What do you think about Tom Holland joining the cast of Christopher Nolan's next film?
Looks like it looks very exciting for Tom because he's finally, and I mean finally, gonna be in a good movie for the first time since The Impossible in 2012. So that's very exciting for him. I think this was definitely a good move. I think Nolan has been on a roll. I know not a lot of people like Tenet, but I thought it was good. But with Oppenheimer and now this, having Tom Holland, Matt Damon, I think there was like a rumor that Robert Pattinson was also going to be in it, but I think that might have been false. But I'm definitely stoked for this. I mean, Nolan is great. Tom Holland keeps getting stuck in shitty movies, so like let's hope that this will be some sort of like surge for him. I hope. He's a great actor. So
well, especially as you consider like as Marvel movies go, he's probably towards the end of his career as Spider-Man. So what he does now is so pivotal for his career in the next, for the rest of
you say that.
They are starting on they're going to start filming Spider-Man 4 actually soon.
We're going to get into that soon.
And we're going to get into that soon enough, but little tidbit. Yeah.
Absolutely, but they might be doing a whole.
This will also take him to the next level. Like I feel like if he does well in this movie, it'll help cement sort of like his standing as an actor outside of Marvel. And if you guys have looked at like the careers of successful actors, even though they start in one thing, towards the last season and like the last few seasons of a show or a movie or whatever, like a series, they have to start making choices outside of that or they get locked in. If they wait until that ends, they're fucked. Like, excuse my French, but like, so this is the greatest move that he's doing this now. So he's already locked in while everything is still hype and going. Because I feel like so many actors, and I don't know if this is like they just don't get the opportunities or they don't extend the opportunities or they feel overextended and they just want to like give to the one project they're in. But like every single actor that you've ever seen do really, really well chooses to like start doing stuff while they're still in it outside of what they're doing. And that way they have something to go to after the fact. You know what I mean? Like if he were to wait until Spider-Man 4 came out and then he doesn't like do more than that. Obviously, I'm sure he would have always been excited to do a Christopher Nolan movie, but like right now he has the hype. And right now is like when he needs to be marketing himself outside of Spider-Man because Spider-Man can't live forever as Tom Holland. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And if you're looking for like as Tom Holland has had bad luck with his picks of movies, and I'm not saying it's his fault or his agent's fault. It could just be that
I think it's his agent's fault. He needs a new agent.
I think sometimes. Well, you also have to understand that it's like the agents come to you with the opportunities, but they just want to make money. So like I just had a conversation with my fucking agent that's like coming to me with all these auditions, and I'm like, I'm not doing these. Like, it does come down to, like, Tom Holland putting his foot down with his team, but also maybe his manager is not doing a good job.
That's also fair.
Him. Like,
there's a lot of ingredients.
There's a lot of, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, look, Tom Holland can just rely on the fact that Christopher Nolan doesn't miss. Tom Holland might be missing outside of the Spider-Man franchise in terms of hits versus misses, but
I mean, it's like when Nolan's weakest movies are like Dark Knight Rises and like Tenet, that just goes to show how talented he really is.
That's better than most people's best.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I like Tenet, I like Dark Knight Rises. I don't love them as much as other movies, but that just goes to show that those movies, despite being considered the weaker ones of his filmography, shows how talented he is. Even though I didn't particularly care for Interstellar, but that's just me.
Interstellar, I think, was great because it sort of introduced this sort of like, not that it hadn't been talked about before, but I think this is the first time that I got to see in a movie like this sort of like time continuum sort of put in a place that I could kind of understand what we were going for, which hadn't, for me, been successfully done before. Like, it made me really look at it, and I'm like, whoa.
It's difficult to do that. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of hard for our minds to naturally, it's when we play with time in any kind of movie making and any kind of form of storytelling, it's hard for our brains because on a fundamental level, humans we are only hardwired to perceive time the way we do on our day-to-day lives.
So it was also
to understand
like,
it in that way.
They didn't leave multiple threads undone when it came to that. It was like, he did this, so it affected this back in this time. And you know what I mean? It was like a full circle moment. And I feel like I hadn't gotten to see that successfully done ever prior to that movie. So I think you have to give that movie kudos for that.
Totally. I love Interstellar. Now, as far as Interstellar goes, it was I believe a collaboration between Warner Brothers and Paramount, and Tom Cruise is back at Warner Brothers, and he last did a movie with Warner Brothers. I believe it was Edge of Tomorrow, which was of course a movie about like a time loop. So speaking of time, it's about time Tom Cruise's next movie with Warner Brothers is off the ground because he's going to be working with Alejandro Iñárritu, and this will be his first movie back with the studio in Burbank since he signed like an overall deal. So now he's got like an office space and everything on the studio lot, even though he's still part of the Mission Impossible franchise and the Top Gun franchise over at Paramount. He now basically lives on the Warner Brothers lot, right? So this is a collaboration between Warner Brothers and Legendary. It's gonna start filming in the UK pretty soon. So I want to get your opinion on this. What did you think about that? Have you heard of this before, that this was in the works? Or what are your thoughts on, again, Tom Cruise getting back in business with Warner Brothers?
I mean, I think it's exciting. The first thing that I said was, "Oh my god, yay! He's doing a movie outside of Top Gun and Mission Impossible." I'm sure that John has different feelings about this. So he loves a good Tom Cruise moment.
Yeah, I mean, we both love Tom Cruise. I know Dan has to step out for like a quick sec to get his aviators, but I just kidding. But
Dan
yeah,
must leave the chat
I
for
feel
the
called
aviators.
out, but okay, whatever.
I love the aviators. I used to have aviators, and then they were really cheap. I dropped them, and they immediately snapped in half.
Oh,
So unfortunately,
thanks.
I don't have them anymore. But yeah, Dunkirk. What I feel like Dunkirk had its problems, but I still overall thought it was good. But in terms of war movies, 1917 came out the next year, and I'm like, oh, this is what Dunkirk should have been.
I enjoyed Dunkirk. I mean, it was a very different kind of movie, but I mean, as far as this goes, on the other hand, like Iñárritu hasn't done an English language movie since The Revenant, and we have no idea what this new movie is going to be about. Like, we don't have any plot details, but we know, according to Variety, that it's going to start filming in could be next month. It could be really, really soon. And of course, Warner Brothers and Legendary, after that whole debacle of sending everything straight to streaming, Legendary has sort of moved on and is working with Universal. But I guess in this instance, they still have the ability to work with Warner Brothers. So to me, on a business side, it's good to see that Legendary and Warner Brothers, like at least for Warner Brothers' sake, they've been able to kind of repair that relationship somewhat, so that they're, Legendary is probably financing the majority of this film. And it's going to be interesting to see what the plot of this is going to be like, because Tom Cruise nowadays doesn't quite do rom-coms. He mostly does action thrillers and stuff like, like large action set piece kind of movies, or just in general, big blockbusters that are not meant to be like small intimate films. So I'm interested in seeing what this ends up becoming. Is this a sequel to Edge of Tomorrow? I mean, I know it's not the same director, but it's unlikely. But I'm interested to see what this ends up becoming, because, like you said, Angelina, it's not a Mission Impossible movie, and Tom Cruise is so tied up with that, the Top Gun Maverick sequel. It's good to see that he's still got other projects in the works. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be fun to just see him get back to it. I don't know. I haven't seen him as either. Like, I haven't seen him as those two. I mean, he's been Ethan Hunt for fucking forever. What has he done outside of Ethan Hunt and Top Gun?
Well, before then,
Tell me, John.
It was
in the last 20 years. What has he done outside of that?
I'm just saying.
Got a divorce, a public divorce, and been a Scientologist.
He's been producing a lot of stuff, to be fair.
Oh, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
But it is kind of ironic how I do plan to watch Interview with the Vampire later today on my horror-a-thon that I've been going through this month. So that's kind of a
Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah, hell yeah. That and Wolf with Jack Nicholson, which I heard was bad, but I'm curious anyway. But that's neither here nor there. Let's continue on.
Earlier we were talking about Tom Holland, and we were also talking about Marvel and how he's still very thankful for everything that RDJ did for him early on in his career, because that was his breakout role, was Spider-Man, and they've done a whole trilogy of movies, but now they're back and they've been working. There's been news all over the internet for the last few days and weeks where we've been hearing that they've got a script in the works, it's not quite completed, but Tom Holland posted that it's a work in progress, but it looks like this is worthy of the fans' respect. And right now, Tom Holland has basically confirmed, I think this was on a late night show, I remember, or he's just in general been talking about it now publicly, that everything is good to go, and I cannot wait. It's starting to shoot next summer. So we know already there's so many other big superhero projects filming next year. We've got the Lantern show for DC. You've got Supergirl starting to film. Of course, the Christopher Nolan movie is going to be filming next year. And Tom Holland is in that movie, and now he's also going to start filming Spider-Man 4 next summer. So it's going to be a busy year. He's going to go from a Nolan movie to Spider-Man 4. I mean, it could be like that. Obviously, the movies are not coming out next year, but it could be the year of Tom Holland in terms of working on two, maybe the biggest, projects he's ever worked on. John, what do you think about the schedule that he's going to have to keep to make these two movies happen?
Wow.
I think I don't know. It's pretty exciting for him. Like, he's really stepping up, because I know a lot of people have been waiting for this. I know he was talking about it for a while. What the hell was that? Anyway, it's exciting. I think he's doing that's something that's so different for his career. Like, boom, Christopher Nolan, and then this, which is I don't know. It's just like I think Tom Holland is better than the projects he's been given for the past few years, even including Spider-Man. But I think I know he was talking about the other day how he read the script with Zendaya and how he was like, oh, it's really great, but it has some flaws that hopefully they get ironed out before filming or this stuff gets cut out. So I think, I mean, obviously he's not going to say that, oh yeah, the script sucks, guys, and we're going to film it anyway. It's going to be the worst thing ever. I just hope that it's like, I remember seeing like that Sony wanted to like double down on multiverse stuff, but Marvel didn't want to do that. And that was one of the cases where I'm like, oh, I'm actually championing for Marvel stuff because I'm sick of the multiverse shit. I think Spider-Man needs to be
I don't want to hear
grounded hero. He needs to be a grounded hero and, just like being your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and all that shit. So
the hype for Lanterns died so out for me that I'm waiting more for Spider-Man 4 than Lanterns. And maybe
that's a sad life you must live, Temple.
Oh no.
Angelina, what are your thoughts on the Spider-Man 4 movie? We have heard rumors about the fact that this movie might be going for a big multiversal arc again because Sony was really in love with what the last movie did, of course, making a lot of money for them, almost $2 billion. Or do you think that they should or will go for like a more intimate story where it's more of a, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? He's just saving people in the city of New York, not from another universe.
I mean, I do miss the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I'm so sick of Spider-Man being the only character that just like continuously just gets like thrown around into all the different, like, I don't want to think about it. I just want to see Spider-Man. Remember Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man? He was Spider-Man and things were great. That's what I would love to have. So
yeah. Well, I mean, look, right now he hasn't given away any specifics. He's just said that everything's good to go, and he
probably cannot say any more than that.
It's going to be interesting, though, because like he's also, of course, doing that Christopher Nolan movie now. And Christopher Nolan's famous about secrecy on his projects, where he will send you paper copies and they will get destroyed and there's no like digital copy. And will be
this message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Exactly. Yeah, in classic Tom Cruise fashion.
Which is going to be interesting with having Tom Holland part of your thing, since the man spoils things like it's his goddamn job.
It's like it's gonna be so interesting to see how he's gonna have to completely keep his lips sealed from now until like that movie comes out in 2026. But guys, that was the news today. Thanks so much for of course in the chat sticking with us through it. We're gonna keep rolling on here, and the next topic that we have got to talk about. Well, guys, I did want to bring this up because I think it's a good, interesting debate. We were originally gonna review Brothers, but that movie, none of us really had a chance to watch, and it didn't really have the best reviews. So we decided, it's maybe a better use of our time to instead have a conversation about how there's 2 big TV shows from the comic book world running today. There's, of course, Agatha All Along on Disney Plus, and then there is The Penguin on HBO for DC. So between Marvel and DC, they've got 2 shows that are doing really well for each franchise. They're 2 very different TV shows. But there was recently an article on comicbook.com that was sort of asking the question, or at least just making the case, that these shows prove that the actors are what drive these superhero franchises. And I was wondering if that's really the case. Like, what actually drives the success of our favorite superhero TV shows and movies? Is it the IP itself? Or is it the actors? Is it just a good story? So I wanted to bring you guys in, and we just have a quick debate about it. And I feel like we might end up on different sides of the spectrum here, or like there's no right answer necessarily, but I just wanted to start the conversation by asking, look, this article kind of makes the point that Agatha All Along and The Penguin show you that great actors, great acting, you've got, of course, Catherine Hahn, and you've got Kristen Milioti, you've got, of course, Colin Farrell. I was going to say the other Colin Farrell. And you've got just an amazing cast of talent from both shows. Aubrey Plaza, and both shows are doing really, really well. I know the audiences for the 2 may not overlap a lot because they're 2 so very different shows, but you could tell that they're, these actors are really elevating the material they're being given. But with that said, do you believe that it's a valid point that these franchises are now being driven by the actors, or people really still tuning in because they're like they love the MCU or they want to see what the Matt Reeves Batman universe looks like. Angelina, what are your thoughts on this? Do you feel like the actors are driving this success, or do you feel like people are still tuning in because it's a Marvel show or it's a DC show?
Oh, that's hard. I think that goes both ways. I think Marvel and DC have made the careers of so many actors, but I also think that the actors can make the show, the movie. You know what I mean? I think in a way we start to think about these superheroes as being sort of synonymous with the actor that plays them. And in so many cases, like, I mean, having Robert Downey Jr. play Iron Man, like, he created Iron Man. I can't see another man playing Iron Man, really. Like, not he was incredible with that, but he also made that. He revived Marvel. He completely like blew up the Marvel franchise, and he was the start of the new like Marvel universe as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think, in a way, could they have gone with a different? No, I can't see it. So, but I think that goes both ways, right? Like, I feel like WandaVision, you know, the actor that plays
Catherine Hahn or Aubrey Plaza?
WandaVision? You're talking about the wrong
Not
show.
WandaVision. I'm sorry, Elizabeth Olsen.
Olsen, yes.
Elizabeth
I
Olsen.
also think, in a way, that that character helped like cement her career. So, you know what I mean? I think it does go both ways. I think it's just matching the right superhero to the right actor, and I think they make magic together. I don't think it's one or the other.
And that's a good point. Like, John, ultimately these are still Marvel DC IP products, right? I mean, the Penguin at times doesn't feel anything like it's part of a comic book franchise at all.
No.
And on the other hand, Agatha all along is firmly entrenched in the whole, oh, is this Mephisto? Is Mephisto's gonna be here? Oh my God, is this, spoiler alert, is this going to be Wanda's son? Or like, you know, what's all of those like Easter eggs and everything. Everything, they're on two opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of everything that Agatha all along is doing with the member berry stuff. The Penguin is avoiding, you know, like it's the plague. But at the same time, there's still great actors at the core of it, where whenever we talk about these shows, you're like, Catherine Hahn is making, you know, this Agatha character really work. The whole reason why we even got the show is because her turn as Agatha in WandaVision was so iconic that people wanted to see more of it. And then the Penguin, of course, we can't stop talking about how good, you know, Colin Farrell is. He just is a chameleon. You don't even know it's Colin Farrell once he gets in the bodysuit. And then Kristen Milioti is a total breakout with the show. So, John, what are your thoughts on this idea that the actors are driving the success of these franchises now? Or do you still feel like people go to them because it's part of a bigger MCU or DC Batman universe?
I think people go see. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that they go for IP. They don't go for actors. They couldn't give less of a fuck about actors. Like Angelina, no offense, but it just, actors are not like, they might, the most actors can get nowadays, like, oh, I recognize them from that thing. That's interesting.
No,
I'm gonna
I
go see this
actually-
because it's a Marvel thing.
Can I completely, just 1 second? I think that that's incorrect, because that's only going to hit the fan base that's already invested. Whereas, like, for me, I could give a fuck less about Marvel before I ever watched Iron Man. Like, I don't give two shits. Like, I never read the comics. I was never into it. I'm not like a comic book nerd. Sorry, I love you all. I know who our fan base is. Like, you guys are incredible. But I did not grow up with that. I did not give a fuck. So that the actor.
Well, I'm not talking about then. I'm talking about now. And
no, I'm talking about always. Because if people are not invested in the comics, they're not going to know about any of it until the actor shows up on screen and tells them to give a shit. Does that make sense? So the actor does
maybe like the
initial audience.
I'm talking about this headline specifically. They say they're driven by actors. I don't think, sure, it's the actors at most are the bait to get people to maybe see this. But in terms of getting people to keep going to these movies is the IP and good stories. Because remember, if you don't have a good script, your movie sucks. Like, it's gonna tank. Like, you cannot. It is impossible to make a good movie from a bad script. It's impossible. You can't do it. You can make a bad movie from a good script. You can't make a good movie from a bad script. It's impossible. That is the blueprint of your movie. And if that script sucks, which it has been for the like half of like the last like 20 Marvel movies, it's gonna be the case because but now they're hooked. They have a lot of their people hook, line, and sinker. Although now people are starting to realize that that they've been like pulling shit out of their ass since Endgame. So people are starting to be like, you know what? I don't think this is for me anymore, because they don't really care about their audience and they keep blaming their audience that, oh yeah, you're the reason why these movies are bad, not the fact that we just make these movies in like 2 weeks and expect greatness again, when that's just not the case. Sure, I would say maybe the actors are like the bait for it for initial things, but in terms of like the Marvel IP that's been like in terms of the MCU that's been going on for the past 16 years, that it's the IP. And for a while, for at least phases 1 through 3, where like most of the time they delivered a great story, now the actors don't mean anything. The movies and shows are just not that good. And sure, you have a lot of stans that are like chugging along this franchise that are like, well, I'm gonna be a Marvel fan no matter what, because I have nothing else. I don't know, like whatever their actual reason is. Like, oh, I've been watching them for the past 16 years. Might as well stay.
I just don't think it's 100% the IP. I don't, because think about Agatha all along. Like, we were all like, ew, what the fuck? But I'm going to go watch it because of Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza, and they have saved it through press. They have saved it through ratings. I think it works hand in hand. I don't think you can give it, it's not just one or the other, but it is both. Like, it's not 100% the IP in a lot of the cases. You know what I mean?
I was just gonna say, I think I agree with both of you guys in the sense that, look, the IP, it's sort of like the YouTube, the way YouTube's ecosystem works, right? If you guys have ever, I'm sure a lot of you guys watching might have YouTube channels of your own, right? So like, and you might have done some research on what makes a good YouTube video. So like, not only do you need to have a good story to tell or good content within the video itself, you need a good thumbnail, you need a good title, and you need all of those things to be complementary to each other. And I think in that same respect, you can't tell a good story and have bad actors. Similarly, you cannot have a terrible story.
I don't know. They
and
made
have
the
good
Thor
actors.
franchise a thing.
Well, but there. Okay, I will say it's in terms of levels of contribution and what draws people where. In terms of movies, I think these days, because to watch a movie you have to go out of your house and go to a movie theater, unless it's on streaming. You're making it's sort of it's an event viewing sort of a situation, right? So like, you need to be drawn in, and I think nowadays the IP is the bigger draw than the actors. Like, you can't just put Harrison Ford is Thunderbolt Ross, and people are going to still go to watch the movie Thunderbolts because it's an MCU movie, not so much because Harrison Ford is on the marquee like back in the day. And I'm not saying it's because he's older now. I don't care. Like, even if it was in a peak of his prime,
his last like 6 movies have bombed. That's so fair. Yeah.
But so to that, but when it comes to TV shows, I think it's a little bit different, because with TV shows, I mean, the same principles apply, that you still need a good story. You need to have a really well-written show. I think for fans of the MCU, Agatha all along is everything that they're looking for. I know there's people who are not fans of the show, but by and large, the viewership numbers show that people are responding well to it. And similarly with the Penguin, I know some people are like, this is not my, this is too dark. This is not the kind of superhero stuff I want to see. Other people, they're like, oh my God, this is the best TV show out there right now. I know John and I are on the same page there too. And at the same time, it's part of a bigger franchise. It's part of a DC Batman franchise, but it still has great actors. Like, those great actors are who are elevating the material, because they could have written this exact same shows and hired different actors who weren't as good, and it would have been a decent show, but it wouldn't be the kind of show where we're talking about these guys are going to win Emmys next year, right? So I think all of that sort of plays a part, and it's everything, like you said. So I agree with both Angelina and John in that the actors make it happen, and they will elevate the material, but you need good material to be elevated. You can't polish a turd and expect it to do very well. That's where Tom Holland has had so much trouble with those other movies that have not been good, because you could be a great actor, but if you don't have a good script, then you can only do so much. So I think it's like John, you said too. It's sort of a handshake between all those aspects, and you guys in our chat are doing saying the same thing. And it, even if it is a total unknown, entity as an actor, if you have a really good, script to work with, that can make your career. Like, Tom Holland with the first Spider-Man movie that he did, I think is still the best of that trilogy of movies that he did. And it was probably because it was the best written of those three movies. And it helped elevate him as an actor from a total unknown to he's part of the MCU. He's our Spider-Man. And of course, it's not actually the best example because he's Spider-Man. People would have, watch regardless of who the actor was, but there's countless other examples where you've seen actors who have broken out with a role, whether it's a movie or a TV show. Kristen Milioti has been on our TV screens for years, but people are talking about her at a level now that maybe they wouldn't have before the Penguin. So I think these are all good examples of that. I mean, and you guys in the chat seem to agree. Jay Kelly, Ray J, Temple, and of course we got Ron in there as well. Like Ron saying, actors can only do so much. You still need a good movie, a good script, a good TV show, and the franchise does still play a part. Like the IP will still have a big role to play no matter which direction we go with that. So with that said, guys, I mean, we can have this conversation all day, but it's a great debate, and I like the idea of doing more of these on the show because it really gets you guys involved, and of course, we all have some very strong opinions about all of it. So with that said, of course, let us know in the comments what you think about the idea. What's driving your interest in these shows? Is it the actors? Is it the stories? Is it just the fact that they're part of the, this larger franchise that you love, whether it's Marvel or DC? And whatever that is, just let us know in the comments. And of course, hit the like button as always. We really appreciate that, and hit the subscribe button. We've got a bunch of new subscribers in the chat, and I'd love to see all of you guys hanging around. So let's move on to what a lot of you guys are here for, which is what's on the thumbnail, and that's DCU Daily. Let's talk about what's going on in the world of DC. So today we had to dive into so many different things because there's a number of stories from Amy Adams' interview recently, and then John Turturro was talking to Variety. We've also had, some new quotes from James Gunn where he's been answering fan questions. So I want to start with getting into the stuff from the Man of Steel related stuff, essentially, John. Henry Cavill is now done as Superman, right? But Amy Adams was recently interviewed, I forget for what project, but she was asked a number of questions. And of course, as always, what are your thoughts on what's going on with the new Superman franchise? And, how was your experience with Superman back in the day? So with that being said, she first wished really, the best wishes to Rachel Brosnahan for her turn as Lois Lane. So I wanted to start with that. And actually, Angelina, I'd like to get your take on this. As an actress yourself, what would your thoughts be if you had played an iconic role and now somebody else was kind of stepping in and basically tasked to do something similar? Amy Adams, of course, wishing the best of luck to Rachel and saying hopefully the role will be, infused with all the best sensibilities that lean into her talents, that being a Rachel. What are your thoughts on just, again, how cordial this handoff seems to be? I know the fans could be polarized between the two Supermen, but it seems like Amy Adams has no problem with Rachel Brosnahan taking on the role.
Well, I think that's the thing. It's like Henry Cavill, obviously we were sad to see him go, but like realistically, it's not even a good, I mean, what the fuck is the point in him being publicly outraged by it? Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't help him. It doesn't do anything. And I think, especially as much as actors have been through in the last few years with the strikes and, I mean, God, COVID, everything, I think we're starting to see, and it being more and more of a publicly discussed thing of like so much I don't know what the proper like tense for that is. Like all of these actors are really cordial to each other. Like RBJ helping Tom Holland out. Like all of these things create a safer environment for actors and push other actors to do the same for other actors. And I think it's just a part of like building a bigger ecosystem on the back half to build like, love in this environment versus animosity. Like, what does it do for her to be upset about Rachel Brosnahan? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't. it doesn't make sense. And especially growing up in musical theater, they told us the biggest thing that you can leave in audition room is your presence and your kindness, because that is what people are going to remember more than anything else, which is true. Like, they're going to see 800 auditions. The only way you're going to stick out is A, you do the best you can, and then you're nice to people. Like, if you're nasty, you are off, you're out. So I think it's also like, as all this stuff starts to become more publicly discussed and so much is posted online and stuff like that, it just doesn't benefit actors to let their like nasty natural tendencies fly. Just be nice to people. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. And I think that's ultimately, like, you gotta have those good vibes about you, so that way you're leaving the place better than how you found it. And I think Amy Adams did a fantastic job with the role, and now that she is moving on, and of course she's no longer going to be Lois Lane, it's good that she's passing on the best of wishes for the next person. Rachel Brosnahan will be a great Lois Lane. I'm sure the behind the scene photos from the shoot over the summer it was great to see, just even not seeing them act it out. It was great to see how just the dress that she had on, like the purple shirt, and it looked very classic from the comics. And then just the way that, she was interacting with all the other actors, including David Cornsweet Superman, it looked amazing. So I'm just excited to see where that goes. But John, that's not the only thing Amy Adams was asked about. Of course, this is the thing on the thumbnail for today's show, so we have to address it, because Amy Adams praised Henry Cavill's take on Superman, and it was sort of one of those things where they were probably not asking her about that directly, but she was like, Henry was a really brilliant Superman. I offer every Superman luck and stuff, but I think he was great. I just wanted to say that it's so in his spirit. So what are your thoughts on this? Again, I mean, it's one of those things where water is wet kind of situations, because she's mentioned this much before, but again, just a great reminder that Henry Cavill was a brilliant Superman. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that the next guy, David Cornsweet, won't be great. It's just that we still have Man of Steel. We can still appreciate the movie if we liked it. What are your thoughts on Amy Adams?
I partially agree with Jay Kelly. Henry played the Superman he was asked to, and he played it well. Now, was that Superman good? I don't think so, but he did the best he could with what he was given, and that's really the best you can do. I feel like the movie from Goyer, because a lot of people blame Snyder, and yeah, he's partly at fault, but I blame Goyer for it felt very spiteful. It felt very, against the grain of what we think to be Superman, and I didn't really care for that. So Henry Cavill and Brandon Routh are kind of in the same boat for me, where the film, well, for Routh it was only one, but for Henry it was three. That they had such a missed opportunity with what they were given. Like they had the energy, they had the talent there, they had the love for the character, but they were just not given good material to work with. And unfortunately, their entire time for the role was missed opportunity. Now, luckily, Routh did get a second chance, and it confirmed that he could have been an amazing Superman if he was given the right material. And the Crisis on Infinite Earths from CW was pretty terrible, but he was definitely the highlight. He was definitely one of the few great moments from that series, that crossover. So I think that that's definitely something. And hopefully maybe down the line, maybe if we get like a Kingdom Come adaptation like 20-30 years down the line, then maybe we can get Cavill back for that and he'll do a good job. But I'm not going to hold my breath. And I can watch like bits and pieces of like those movies and be like, okay, yeah, this was, if only he, was actually given good material to work with, we could have gotten something. But unfortunately, that is just not the case. Man of Steel was just, I rewatched it recently. It was just not a good movie. And BVS is like a Frankenstein's monster of a movie. Like I enjoyed it more, but it's still not great. And then I didn't like.
That's I need to like sadness too, though. You know what I mean? Because it's like when you think about it, it's like Robert Downey Jr. was meant to play Iron Man, but then he also was able, the script itself was like pretty great. Like the story was pretty great. And he was able to like live in that role and really make it great. And that's where we have the conversation of like the two are so important, because I cannot think back to honestly, Christopher Reeves, right? Was the name of the first.
Christopher Reeve was the OG
I feel
Superman,
like
right?
He was the first on the big screen, yes.
Yeah. I don't feel like there was any other Superman or actor that played Superman other than Christopher Reeves prior to Henry Cavill that was so meant for that role. He believed in it. He loved it. He like embodied it. And I think it's one of Hollywood's greatest sadnesses, like when you see that and you see the potential there and they just fuck it up so bad. And like and I think that's what made me so sad when he couldn't play it anymore. You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah, look, I here's what I will say. I am on the other end of the spectrum in terms of my feelings on Henry Cavill Superman, because I think Henry Cavill Superman was amazing. Man of Steel is a great film that is heavily underrated, and I'll always love his take on the character. And I think him as an actor and who he is as a person fits the spirit of Superman really well, which is exactly what Amy Adams was talking about. But I mean, it's obviously, well, I'm in the minority in the sense that the movie wasn't very well received, and the vast majority of people did not really like that iteration of Superman, which is why things ended up where they did. And now we're in a new universe with David Cornswet taking over, and I'm looking forward to that. Now, of course, as part of that new cinematic universe, John, we do have some other news. So we're gonna let Angelina step out for a second, but we're gonna continue the conversation. We have to talk about James Gunn, of course, because he's active on social media all the time talking about what's going on with the world of DC. He was at New York Comic-Con. He's currently filming Peacemaker. What are your thoughts on his response to a fan question here, John, where he was asked about essentially, hey, what was your casting process like for Aaron Pierre? Was it like, and especially considering that he was almost Adam Warlock, did you just kind of go back and say, oh, you know what, I want that actor back for this role? Or did you sort of like start that process from scratch? What are your thoughts on his response to that?
I'm just reading his response. Okay. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Obviously, like you go through like hundreds upon hundreds of tapes, and all this other stuff in regards to these characters. So it's like it's not like totally out of the ordinary. It's like okay, similar vibe, but even then, it's like. It's not because of that, it's just like I think he did, because I remember James Gunn saying his screen test was great for Aaron Pierre. He's like, I don't think that was for Adam Warlock. I think he just maybe was like, I think this guy's a great actor. I'm gonna bring him in. His screen test was absolutely amazing. I have to cast him in the role. So I think that's most definitely the case here. They're just like, okay, you know what? I think this guy has the vibe. I think this guy has the look. Let's fucking go and let's give us something to really, champion for the next reboot. And I think that's kind of it. I don't know what else to say. Like, I think that's that's kind of a cool thing, and
it's good
that we got him.
Yeah,
I'm glad. So yeah.
No, it's good to know that, like, again, from a professional standpoint, they're not like just saying, oh, I want that same actor back. They're going to go through the process of like, okay, are you the right fit for this role? You're gonna need to read for this again, like you would have before for the other role for Adam Warlock, which he missed out on. But now Aaron Pierre, of course, he didn't miss out on this role for Jon Stewart. So it's exciting to see again how it all factors in together. But John, there is one other thing I want to run by you from the world of DC. Actually, there's two other things. So first, I want to get into John Turturro, because this actually broke right before we went live, and I want to get your thoughts on this, because we've been following and we've been watching The Penguin, pretty much every week. It's 5 episodes in. The last 3 episodes, I have no idea what's going to happen with how unpredictable the show is. But the one thing we know for sure is not happening is John Turturro is not going to be coming back.
And this is probably the dumbest fucking thing I've read all day. Like, this is so fucking stupid. First of all, not an equal opportunist. Sometimes crazy women in Arkham, yeah, they deserve that treatment because they're fucking, menaces to society. So like, they fucking deserve that, first off. Second, this man played Jesus in The Big Lebowski, who was a pedophile, by the way. So he's okay to play pedophiles, but he's not okay to play a guy who's a serial killer who just so happens that his main like thing is like killing women. It's like that doesn't match up for me. I'm sorry. That's just fucking beyond stupid. Like, I understand because they initially said, oh, he had scheduling conflicts. So, and when I didn't realize he was on Severance, I'm like, oh, his scheduling conflicts was Severance. Okay, that's fine. But he's like, no, violence against women. I'm like, okay, did he think Carmine Falcone was like a feminist or something? Like, this is just so fucking. I think this is just him being like, I think he's just like hoping to get like brownie points or some shit. And he's like, hey guys, like I'm pro women, woohoo. It's like, this is media, this is fake, this isn't real. It's like no one with half a brain cell is gonna lambaste you for playing a character that hangs to like kills women. It's like, all right, like I don't know. I just feel like this is a very dumb fucking take and very dumb reason not to come to the role. But considering the fact that Carmine Falcone really isn't in the show that much, he's
just
only
a few
in
flashbacks so far,
which works because I don't know if Mark Strong. I think they're around the same age, but Mark Strong at least looks younger than John Turturro because John Turturro has been like gray for the past like 20 years. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like that's whatever. So it still works. So that's fine. But like, I just felt like that this is a very dumb take. And like, it's like, I don't get it. Like, why do you just say like, oh, I didn't, he like literally what he says in the first sentence is like, where he's like, I did what I wanted to do for the role. You could have just left it at that. Like, I liked what I did in the Batman. I felt very little reason
I agree with
to
you.
come back. Yeah. Just do that. I don't know why he needed to fucking add violence towards women. That's not. It's like, again, the man played a pedophile. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, it just felt like you said that he should have just stopped while he was ahead with I did what I wanted to do with the role, and then just sort of like things didn't work out, and I'm sure John Strong is doing a great job, right? Like, or Mark Strong, sorry. Mark Strong is doing a great job. Cal, by the way, Cal Constantine in the chat. We got some new names that I'm seeing for the first time. Action Figure World in the chat. We've got Aldo Delroy in the chat. And yeah, it's great to see you guys here.
But where's Lenny?
I don't know, man. Lenny? We gotta look for Lenny. Somebody look for Lenny. We need Lenny.
We miss
back.
her. Like we miss her greatly. Like I don't know why. Yeah. I understand she got upset, but like we need her back. We need her energy again. We miss her. So come on, guys. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. I look, as far as how much of a role Carmine has to play beyond this season of Penguin, I don't really know we're gonna need much more of Carmine. But it's good to see Mark Strong in here, because he's also Mark Strong is in another another HBO project that's coming up, right? Isn't he? He's in the Dune Prophecy. So like he's making it good with HBO right now. Jay Kelly's saying Lenny's probably sleeping. Could be. It's got to be like 8 p.m.
It's 8 o'clock over there. It's 8 o'clock across the pond. Right, so I don't know. Yeah. I don't think so, but I hope she didn't get too offended, like, because we miss her, and that was a very dumb thing That was a very dumb discussion. That was my fault, but hopefully she will eventually come back because we miss her greatly.
Yeah. Well, we do have, of course, all the other guys in the chat. We got Ron, we got Ray J, we've got Jay Kelly. You guys, I love having you around. Fiona's in the chat. She was actually sleeping earlier, so she's saying. Temple, of course, still asking for the Discord server. We're working on it. We are working on it. Yeah, but absolutely, guys, keep dropping your comments in the chat, and then hit that like button if you haven't already. It really does help us out. We have so much more to get into still. I mean, Angelina was on the show earlier. I'm sure she'll be back in a little bit. She had to step away for a second, but this was the DC news for the day. But we're not done with DC news or in general, just news from Hollywood, because we're gonna now go into the other side of the comic book spectrum, and let's talk about Blade, shall we?
Yeah.
John, what is going on with Blade? Because apparently
nobody fucking knows what's going on with Blade.
Apparently, like okay, because like they've got like some good stuff that they announced at New York Comic Con, but then we got this news that Blade was removed from the release schedule. Like this is from the deadline, but this was all over the news yesterday that Blade has now been removed from the 2025 release schedule, and they did add 3 new Marvel movies for I believe like 2028 or something, and of course the next Predator movie is coming out now, Predator Badlands. Which I might have gone. I think that's what's essentially replacing Blade on next year's calendar.
Thank God, because that's probably going to be a better movie anyway.
But the reason I didn't want to necessarily just talk about Blade is off the schedule. Does that mean it's gone? The reason why I wanted to bring that up today, guys, is because while Blade is off the schedule, I found this earlier. Not this. I mean, although this is looking very prophetic right now.
Everyone's been fucking posting this goddamn clip for the past like day and a half.
It's looking very prophetic, but at the same time, there's this rumor now. Daniel RPK, one of the scoopers, who doesn't always get it right, but he does get it right every 1 in 5 times maybe, and he was reporting that Marvel Studios is now reportedly fast tracking the Midnight Suns movie. So I wanted to get your thoughts on is it the idea that maybe, just maybe, and I'm speculating here. There's no insider info here to go off of, but it's implied that perhaps if they are indeed fast tracking Midnight Suns, does that mean that they've just decided to not do a solo Blade film but introduce him in Midnight Suns instead? And does that mean we're also going to get maybe Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in there? Like, what do you think this means? Do you think there's any credibility to this report, or do you just think Blade is done for now? Marshall Ali's no longer going to be Blade. They had 5 years to figure it out, and they just couldn't make it happen.
Yeah, after that post-credit scene in Eternals, like I mean, they've retconned stuff all the time. Like there was like the initial like, why did they why if Tony wasn't interested in the Avengers, then why did they send him to, get Hulk for the Avengers? I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So they fucking retcon that in that one shot. Not right to. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I was like reading. I'm like, wait a minute, what? And no, now I get what you're saying. But yeah, I agree. It's just it. Because to be fair, they have gone through like 7 different scripts, 3 different directors. It's like it's so funny because it's like there's a lot of things in regards to, the stuff that Gunn is doing versus what Marvel's doing. It's like, okay, like sometimes there's like a lot of lore, there's a lot of stuff to do, like lanterns. That's a big thing. There's a lot of lore there. There's a lot of other lantern cores. There's a lot of this. There's multiple lanterns. There's a whole bunch of stuff in regards to that lore. Yet they managed to figure that out. Yet for some fucking reason, guy killing vampires is apparently too much for Marvel. That's like just like out of their realm of possibility that guy who kills vampires is just crazy to them. Like, I don't know how the fuck you don't make that. They managed to do 3 movies and it was fine. Like, I just don't understand. Like, if it was like this mystery, whole thing, man. If there was like a whole like lore and history, like something like X-Men is a lot. It's an ensemble, a lot of characters to juggle. Like, okay, that I understand. Like, there's like a whole thing, but it's just Blade is literally guy who kills vampires. He is a vampire who kills vampires. What is so fucking hard about that? I don't get it. You have, and on top of that, you have comics. You have like 40 years of source material to go back and read through. You know, that thing that you actually don't base your movies on anymore because apparently that's like too difficult because you're fucking idiots for whatever reason. But no. Like, you can't figure that out. Guy who kills vampires. Like, you can't. I would love, it would be fucking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. If like DC, you know how like there's been the joke made that like Marvel rips off like DC's ideas. Like DC had the idea to do BVS and then Marvel like, let's do Civil War. Oh, DC, we're going to do New Gods, which got canceled. But then like Marvel's like, oh, let's do fucking Eternals. DC's like, we're going to have Suicide Squad. Marvel, we're going to have Thunderbolts. It's like, it's kind of, been going.
It goes both ways. I will say that
it does go both ways.
Of it goes both
ways.
But
I think it would be hilarious if James Gunn, whether it's an Elseworld story, whether it's part of the DC, whatever, animated or not, he announces an vampire movie, which is not real. He's not really like the DC version of Blade, but he's as close as you can get. He's a vampire who kills vampires, essentially. He's kind of in that Blade sort of like idea. And then like they make it within like 2 years, and then it's like a huge success. It's like, see, DC can do it. I don't know why you fucks couldn't do it for so damn long. That would be funny. That would be an ultimate salt in the wound, because that's essentially what happened with, you know, New Gods. That got canceled. Eternals was made, although Eternals wasn't good. But you know, it just goes to show that they announced this thing way after Marvel couldn't figure this shit out for half a decade, and then they turn around and make a movie, and it's great. So
that'd be rubbing salt in the wounds kind of a move. But
yes.
I mean, Jay's asking a good question, dude. I do believe they've had trouble trying to figure out how this character was going to fit in, because when you bring in a Daywalker, you're bringing in a whole underbelly of the MCU that currently doesn't exist. And it's different in the way that, you know, okay, Thor was like what you call magic, we call science. But I don't know. I mean, can you do the same, like just in one sentence, explain away what the concept of vampires and the MCU is? Like Ron saying the problem with Marvel is Disney. Maybe that's why they can't figure out Blade. I mean, look, they made a rated R Deadpool Wolverine, so I think they can do it. I just think the fact that they've lost 3 directors, for whatever reason, Kevin Feige couldn't get on the same page with any of the directors they've brought in, and none of the scripts that they've come up with. But guys, there is something that Marvel seems to be getting right, or at least they've figured out, which is Daredevil, which was another rated R thing that they were struggling with. But here we are. Daredevil Born Again is now got a premiere. All good.
I have a lot of tabs open and my browser crashed.
No, it's all good, man. I saw you freeze and I was like, all right, I'll just keep going and then you'll just catch up.
Yeah, so, my bad, guys.
It's all good. But I was just talking about Daredevil Born Again. It's got a premiere date on Disney Plus. This was a big announcement. I mean, you had Charlie Cox and you had Vincent D'Onofrio. They were both at New York Comic Con this past weekend. And of course, we now know that March 4th, 2025, so it's only months away now, the show is going to start airing. And this season is going to be a direct continuation of the Daredevil we saw on Netflix, Sean. What are your thoughts on just what this show can be and possibly will be? And as far as, you know, talking about, I mean, Daredevil is not a daywalker. It's not like magic and mysticism, but Daredevil is a rated R Marvel property, and Vincent D'Onofrio keeps teasing that this show is going to have a lot of firsts for Marvel and Disney Plus, and I'm sure it's going to be
one of those like
good Disney parental Plus guidance things. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on Daredevil Born Again? Are you excited for this? Is this something that you're looking forward to?
So I've pretty much like boycotted Marvel. I have no hope in anything. The only stuff I will see is like if they stay the course with Spider-Man 4, like giving us like a Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, no multiverse, no, he's not really Spider-Man, he's just Iron Man Jr., none of that shit. As long as they make a fucking Spider-Man movie, keep it a Spider-Man movie, I'll watch it. I love Spider-Man. That's like the one I pretty much and then maybe Fantastic Four if it's good, but it probably won't be, and I'll probably just, you know, pirate it. But in terms of like, I love the show Daredevil. Seasons 1 and 3 were kino fucking television. Season 2, the first 4 episodes were really good, and then the rest of the show was just kind of eh. But the show overall was still like great. And when this was first announced, I'm like, they're gonna fuck it up. Then they scrapped the entire thing, and now then they, you know, brought it back. I saw like the behind the scenes with the costumes with Bullseye and Daredevil. Didn't look great, but I'm like, all right. And now I'm hearing that like it's gonna be rated mature. There is gonna be blood and swearing. So I'm like, there's maybe a minuscule of hope that this will actually be decent. And there were some reports, a lot of rumors, purely rumor mill, that it's actually just going to be as violent or even more violent than the Netflix show, which I do hope, because I'm not saying like, oh, you need to have violence to be good. I'm saying that it's just so like that's the character. Like he's a street level, like brawler. Like that's Daredevil. So, and that was like, I mean, the joke for years when this was first announced, like, oh, they're gonna fucking kidify it because it's like, oh, the Punisher is gonna use super soakers instead of real guns, or like Daredevil is just gonna
I don't
like
think that's happening.
tap people
Dude,
instead of punch people.
I've seen behind the scenes photos, and like the Punisher had blood all over him. Like, I don't know how you censor that stuff. So I don't think that's gonna be the case. I personally think this is they've leaned into fully the aesthetic of the Netflix show, and I can't wait to see what that turns into once we actually start getting these episodes, and hopefully they'll be like full television episodes and not something where we're getting like, you know, little tidbits or half an hour episodes. I did want to quickly mention this again, you know, Charlie Cox, you know, doing some great work. He was at the New York Institute for Special Education visiting children who are, you know, blind or visually disabled. That's just a great example of, again, he's a great person, and
I've heard nothing but great stories about him.
And he loves New York City, and he was at the Comic-Con. Of course, Daredevil is from Hell's Kitchen, so it makes all the sense in the world, you know, for him to just, you know, be hanging out and doing things like this, where he's you know, a great person, great actor, and I'm glad that we're gonna get to see another season of Daredevil. Speaking of stuff from Marvel and DC, John, I did forget to mention something earlier on the DC side of things, because I thought you might be interested in this. So real quick, today, Absolute Wonder Woman is out. You know, part 1 of 5, The Last Amazon. Is this one of the ones you're excited about?
I'm not excited for anything of Absolute. Like, it just looks like edgy Snyder crap for comic fans. Like, that's the vibe I get. I'm sure it's great. Like, I do love Scott Snyder. He's like one of the few Batman writers to actually get and understand Batman. So like it's just like, I don't like the art. I don't like how Batman uses a gun. I don't like how he's just like essentially Darren Aronofsky's Batman. I'm just not, I don't really care. Like, Absolute Superman just looks like grimdark crap. Then the only one I would like maybe read is like Martian Manhunter, just because that fucking design is wild. And I'm like, all right, that's like kind of interesting. But for the most part, I don't really care. It's like, I just feel like it's, once again, it's like DC trying so hard to mimic the Ultimate line for Marvel, but like for the Ultimate line that actually worked for years and was actually really good. And like they tried to do All-Star, that didn't work. I think they tried to do something else, but I don't remember. But now they're trying Absolute, and it's just like, I don't know if this shit's gonna work. I mean, people seem to be liking it, but I don't know. It just seems like WB is like, well, we're never going to restore the Snyderverse, but let's give them the grim, dark, edgy crap in comic books instead. And that's the closest y'all or Snyder cultists are going to get with that shit. So I'm like, all right, great, I guess.
You're muted, Angelina.
Whoops, sorry, guys. I took a small break. I was eating eggs while I was laughing my ass off at all of John's commentary backstage. 10 out of 10, John. Love that. But the graphics look super cool. Like, they remind me of the 90s cartoons. Like, I grew up watching, God, what was that? The Justice League cartoon that came out in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. I loved that. That was like my favorite cartoon. So getting to see them sort of getting back to the roots on that is kind of fun. Seems like a new updated version. I don't know what is up with like the revival of making these all cartoons again, but I guess it's kind of cool. I don't know. I think it looks cool.
I personally, to me, like the Wonder Woman design is probably the best one out of all the Absolute.
I would agree with that also.
So,
to be fair.
And Temple's saying if you read it, like you'll, hopefully, I mean, he's saying it's not edgy Snyder crap. So I will take Temple on his word.
For whoever just said
Wonder Woman has always been a baddie. I don't know why that's a.
She was the OG baddie, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, especially with William Moulton Marston making, her biggest weakness that she gets tied up and she can't use her powers anymore. That was definitely the best part. It's a shame they got rid of that, but it's it is what it is. But yeah, Wonder Woman's great. I mean, I will say I like the design. It does. I like the silver. I think I always thought this, even though I don't like New 52 stuff, I will say I liked the silver more than the gold. Just that's my personal opinion in terms of like the accents to her costume. So maybe that's a hot take. I don't know, but yeah.
I was gonna just say, speaking of baddies, today is the birthday of the one Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool himself. He's celebrating his 48th. So happy birthday to Ryan Reynolds. He recently posted some stories on his Instagram. He was with Leslie Uggams. Is that her name? I forget if that's her name, but she plays like his blind neighbor or like his roommate, right? Like in the Deadpool movies. I think they were filming some kind of like holiday special. I was excited to see that. I know John is a big fan of Ryan Reynolds, so I don't know if you have wished Ryan Reynolds happy birthday today, John.
Ryan Reynolds can suck a dick for his 48th. That's what I think. But anyway,
Ron is like,
I'm like
oh
the
God,
one
he's almost
person that
50?
doesn't. I'm like the one
crazy,
person
right?
that doesn't
I'm
find
sick
him
of him.
attractive, and I'm like the one person
Personally,
that's like fucking sick of him.
I'm over him. I totally understand. Yes, he ticks me off. I get it now. I used to think he was great, and then it was like the Ryan Reynolds.
The It Ends With You controversy ended that. Was that the thing? Or
no, actually, I think it was just seeing Deadpool 3 like be the same fucking iteration of Deadpool over and over and over again, and then having to see him in that stupid fucking Imaginary Friends movie. I was just like, do you just not ever step out of fucking Ryan Reynolds' character? Like, can you
until it stops making him money? And it looks like
this
it
is
won't,
where that
fucking
BFFR
Deadpool
really
and Wolverine just passed Barbie in terms of box office, and they're still in fucking theaters. So
and you can buy it on Blu-ray. It's coming out on DVD.
I didn't
already.
know that. Why are we not talking about that? That's fucking insane.
It is.
Oh my God.
It happened earlier this week. Yes.
So I went to go check something news-wise because I was checking the John Turturro thing to see what other people were saying. Literally, the first thing on my feed, I follow a comedian, Sam Morril. He's really funny. Literally, he said the thing I was thinking. He was like, he was a pedo in Lebowski. Like, what the fuck? And I'm like, thank you. Exactly. That's what I said. I know we were already stopped talking about that, but I'm just I was just curious what other people were saying. I'm just like,
John Turturro should have just stopped while he was ahead.
Stop, man. Like, what the fuck?
He should have, yeah. But I mean, guys, let us know in the comments if you have wished Ryan Reynolds a happy birthday today, because of course it is his 48th, and you know what? Whether you like him or not, he's a big part of our cultural zeitgeist, and you know, whether it's as Deadpool or even as Green Lantern. But let's look ahead to a couple of movies next week, guys. Speaking of Marvel, we do have Venom, The Last Dance. Venom 3 with Tom Hardy coming out in just a few days' time. In fact, I've been seeing people going to see some early fan screenings today. Or actually, no, today's the preview day. You can go see a preview today. You can get in and watch it tomorrow. There's been fan screenings earlier this week as well. Of course, tomorrow you'll get to see more showings, and then Friday it's like a total wide release. I have been looking forward to this movie myself, and the trailers and the marketing for this, like from the Hot Ones thing that they did, and then I recently saw a Dak Prescott trailer, which clearly looked like they had like VFX'd him into like footage from the movie, and that Tom Hardy that has no idea that he's there, but it's great. And then he did something with like Venom has this thing on social media with Megan Thee Stallion that was hilarious. So like it's just they've been doing a good job of marketing this movie. And I personally am a fan of the first Venom movie. The second one wasn't as good, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes with this third movie, because there's all kinds of rumors about how this movie is going to translate into future Sony MCU connections, or maybe Venom is now going to transition into the MCU, or maybe Null is going to be introduced as a new Thanos of the Sony Spidey universe. Maybe a Spider-Man will finally show up. Tom Hardy has firmly said that this is it for him, and that he's going to be done after this. John, what are your thoughts on, again, so far the marketing for this? It's everywhere. Sony's expecting this to now debut with over $100 million at the opening weekend. Actually, worldwide, that is like close to 170. Angelina, you brought that to our attention. So what are your thoughts on it? I mean, John, I'll start with you. Are you looking forward to Venom? Venom?
I just realized I was muted. Ha ha ha. I wouldn't say I'm excited for it, but I'm like, it'll be a fun time. Like, in terms of, comic book movies to come out in October, I didn't think Venom: The Last Dance would be the one that probably makes the most money and the most positively received. So, I really enjoy the first one. I think it's a genuinely fun movie. The second one had a lot of dumb shit in it, but I still reasonably enjoyed it for what it was. Like, Woody Harrelson as Carnage was definitely a great choice. It's just a shame how he was kind of a bitch in the movie, and then the chick who played Shriek was annoying, and I'm glad she fucking bit the bullet. But I just overall, like, I think this is gonna be a fun time. I think I'm the thing I'm nervous about is like Kelly Marcel, who has been writing these movies. This is her first, like, this is her directorial debut. So that's a little, like, that makes me a little bit nervous. I'm not saying all directorial debuts are bad or anything like that. And she does know the franchise at least. So, like, okay, that's
an interesting move to have the third with a brand new
probably because nobody else wanted to fucking direct it. That's probably why. But I still, you know, it's got a good cast. It's got you know, I like Venom. Like I know, like, the thing is, like, make him an anti-hero, make him, like, you know, all that shit. But, like, I still think it'll be a fun time. At the very least, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. The review embargo had not been lifted when we started putting the show together yet. They're supposed to come out today. But based on, like, the previews, people are saying, this is, like, I don't believe that this is Tom Holland at his best. I think that's crazy because he's
Hardy.
Oh, sorry.
The other Tom. Sorry.
Yes, the other Tom. I think that that's insane. So when I fuck up people's names, I picture the right person and I just say the wrong name. So I'm so sorry.
It's all good. Happens to the best of us.
I was like, my goodness. But, you know, with that being said, I'm more intrigued to see it now because I was ready for this movie to be absolute dog shit. The reviews so far, multiple people are saying it's the best of all three of them. It's Tom Hardy at his best. And while the movie is not perfect, it is, like, the best of all of them, and I liked the first one, so I guess I'm excited. And it's also one of the only, like, really cool spoopy superhero movies we're getting this month. I feel like a lot of the scheduling changed for a lot of other projects.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's I've heard kind of similar feedback, like these movies aren't good, but Venom 3 is the best of the bunch, which I'm like, okay, that's an underhanded compliment, but I'll take it. And I enjoyed the first one, so I really like this one too. I'm sure I'll really like it. And like you said, the bar on the reviews has not lifted yet because the Rotten Tomatoes score is still sitting blank. What I did notice here, though, John, I'm curious about your thoughts on this. In the cast, I see a certain Rizy Fons there, who played a certain Spider-Man villain back in the day, and most recently, a couple of years ago in Spider-Man No Way Home. I do wonder if he's playing the same character. Is Lizard going to be in this movie?
He isn't. He's not playing the Lizard. Just like Chiwetel Ejiofor isn't playing Mordo. You know, it just so happens. I think it, like, you know, he's let's just say he's a multiversal variant, because that's the thing to do now. It's just like
multiversal variant is crazy. But
I think that's just the reason. I think they're just gonna be like, yeah, we just liked this actor, so we're using him again. I mean, Sony probably forgot he was the Lizard.
Hit that like button, please. Well, I don't know. Are you guys gonna go see it? I'm gonna go see it. I'm gonna go.
I want to go see it so bad. Like, I want to go see it this weekend, but I've got other plans, so I may have to, like, wait a couple of days. But or maybe I'll get it in before the weekend even starts. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go drag Keith to go see it sometime soon.
Yeah.
Get that spoopy season together.
This isn't the only movie coming out this weekend. We have got what might be an early favorite for a lot of Oscars, and that is, of course, Conclave. Conclave starring Ralph Fiennes, who's probably one of the best actors to not have an Oscar on his mantle today. And this movie has been playing at festivals and getting all kinds of applause. But I did want to ask, what are you guys' thoughts on this? By the way, before we move on to this, I did want to mention, apparently in the latest Venom teaser, like, Null actually has some lines. So I'm, like, interested in seeing how that's going to work. But anyway, Conclave, Ralph Fiennes, this movie looks creepy, is the word I will use. Have you guys, like, seen any marketing for this? Have you seen a trailer for this movie yet?
I saw a trailer.
Yeah.
I don't know what movie I was seeing, but I saw, like, one trailer, and that's it. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this movie is, but it looks good.
It looks intriguing. It looks creepy. and it's a story that's been like this has been, like I said, making the rounds in the festival circuit for a while. And I mean, you look at the cast, of course, John Lithgow there. I've been watching him in The Old Man recently, and Ralph Fiennes. You've also got Stanley Tucci, and they're starting to do some promotional work around this, making media appearances. But it just looks like one of those movies that has the potential to again come out of nowhere and be nominated for like every Oscar category there is. I mean, Angelina, does this sort of give you any sense like of excitement for it? Because unlike Venom, this one already has a Rotten Tomatoes score and it's sitting really, really high.
Really
it's already
high,
77 reviews.
Honestly, I was just super impressed by the cast list. I mean, Stanley Tucci is he's coming on back, and I love him. But even Ralph Fiennes, like, just really incredible cast list. I hadn't heard about this movie previously. Like, I haven't seen any marketing for this movie at all, so I didn't even know it was coming out until we were talking about it today. But I'm impressed. I'm wondering if it's going to be one of those like underrated movies that is actually quite phenomenal. So.
Yeah. And I think Ron he's suggesting that maybe Ray Fiennes could be the Alfred in the DCU. Oh, that would be amazing, right? If Ray Fiennes was playing Alfred, but at the same time you have Andy Serkis playing Alfred, two great actors. Yeah, I would love that.
I think Ray Fiennes is a little bit, wait, sorry, did you say Rhys Ifans or Ray Fiennes? I didn't even.
Ray Fiennes.
Okay. I mean, to be fair, he did already
movie.
play him in the Lego Batman movie, so
he did. That's true. I mean, and he might be back as M in the new James Bond iteration too, because they usually like some of the actors kind of translate across, even if they recast Bond. But by the way, Temple, great question. Mark Strong as Sinestro in the DCU. We're tomorrow on DCU Daily gonna be casting all the different characters from the Lantern Corps, which we haven't so far talked about. Of course, we've got a Jon Stewart and a Hal Jordan, but we have to talk about all the other characters.
I got the list right here.
John's got the list.
It's right here. You guys can't see it, but I got it right here.
Mr. Bean as Alfred is a peak casting that we haven't seen yet. Oh man, come on, Temple. That's a good idea though. I wouldn't mind. But yeah, guys, this has been a great show as always. I mean, we have gone through so many different things. Conclave, we've got, of course, Venom coming out this year, in a couple of days' time. I can't not say that anymore. Like, I have to say it 3 times. It just makes sense.
But everybody's
and plus it makes sense because it's the third movie, so
like, what is
3 times. Boom,
yeah,
that also works.
Crazy.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, let us know in the comments, guys. Are you gonna go see Venom? And just hit the like button if you haven't already, because we appreciate that. It helps us out, the algorithm gods of YouTube. And hit the subscribe button. We have so many of you joining us for the first time today. Love to see you here. We will say hi in the chat whenever we can and feature your comments. And of course, when you drop your comments down below, if you're watching, especially if you're not live, when you're watching this, we will then bring those comments in the next show, like tomorrow when John goes over your Green Lantern casting, right, John? We got a ton of different options for all the different characters. Star Sapphire, Sinestro. There's so many different options. Maybe, Luke Evans or Famke Janssen, or maybe Carl Urban can join the DCU. Maybe Ray Fiennes could join the DCU as one of the Lanterns. Maybe Mark Strong can hop across and return to being Sinestro from that infamous Green Lantern movie that once upon a time Ryan Reynolds was a part of. But guys, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit the notification bell so you know when we are live, or if we have a new video going up. So we'll see you tomorrow, another episode of DCU Daily. Until then, thanks to John, thanks to Angelina. It's been another fantastic show, and we'll see you next time on another episode of Oh So Curious times DCU Daily.